What's happening, Colts Nation? Welcome to today's episode of Colts Latest. I'm your host, Scott Reiman, coming to you from San Rafael, California, in Marin County in the beautiful Bay Area, where the weather was just gorgeous all weekend long, sunny and 80. Just one of those weekends that reminds me why I live in the Bay Area. It was fantastic. Before we get started on the news of the weekend, thank you so much to FanArch. Would not be able to do this without FanArch. Check out their website, fanarch.com, where they've got great content not only on the NFL, but as you know, NBA, MLB, college sports, boxing, UFC, WWE, sports card collecting, and so much more. Fanarch.com. Check them out. If you like my content here, and I hope that you do, please do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the Colts Latest channel. That's how myself and FanArch are able to keep putting out all of this content for all of y'all. All right, I don't know about you. It kind of feels like the calm before the storm right now. You know, we're waiting for news of the first big move from the Colts, and I'm expecting there to be several, if not this week, then very soon after. The team made a few small moves over the weekend that I'll get into, but everything really starts today with the opening of the legal tampering period. That's where teams and free agents are allowed to announce deals that have been reached, although those deals can't officially be signed until Wednesday when the new league year begins. Now, the news is going to start coming quickly, and we should know where a good chunk of the top free agents are going to land by the end of the week, if not by Wednesday. Now, I'm going to expect to see guys like Kwity Paye and Braden Smith find new homes this week, and perhaps even Nick Cross. Of course, the guy on every Colts fan's mind is Alec Pierce. I'll be glued to Adam Schefter's X feed and ESPN all day today, waiting for any news to drop about AP. And I really feel like it could come at any time and could go any way. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler said of Pierce, quote, "Expect negotiations between Alec Pierce and the Colts to go down to the wire as the team tries to keep him off Monday's open market. That's going to be a challenge. Pierce appears poised to make at least $27 million per year on a new deal. The Patriots, Commanders, Raiders, and Titans are among teams in the mix. What helps Indy's case is that Pierce is close with Colts quarterback Daniel Jones and, if everything is equal, would like to stay in Indianapolis. There's still hope for Indy, but Pierce's market will dictate his direction." End quote. Now, listening to Alec himself, it sounds like he wants to give the Colts a chance to lock up Daniel Jones on a multi-year deal. So if that's the case, he might not rush to sign with another team so quickly. There's a chance that he lets free agency play out a little bit, sees if Jones gets any offers that the Colts are either forced to match or decline, and then make his decision from there. But if a team's ready to just offer him 4 years for $120 million right now, that just might be too risky for him to pass up. The Colts also still have salary cap issues of their own to work on in order to be able to make a Pierce deal work. They got a little help in that department when they made a move over the weekend that I think many of us saw coming, but some were unhappy with, and that was when they traded Zaire Franklin to the Green Bay Packers for defensive tackle Colby Wooden. Look, I know a lot of you out there really, really liked Zaire Franklin. He was one of the longest tenured Colts on the team. He did have a few great years, moving from 4th in the league in tackles in 2022 to 2nd in 2023 to leading the NFL in 2024, earning himself a 3-year extension worth up to $31.3 million before the 2024 season, a deal that still has 2 years and up to $16 million remaining. He's loved in Indy. He's done a ton for this franchise. But the fire Ballard calls over this trade are a little ridiculous, y'all. The sad truth is, Franklin took a major step back last season, and a lot of us saw it. In fact, Zaire was Pro Football Focus's 87th ranked linebacker out of the 88 in the NFL that qualified. And that's just not going to get it done. His numbers were down across the board, and he was a major liability in coverage, opening up the middle of the field for opposing passing games. He's never been a great cover linebacker, but those deficiencies were always masked by his ability to make the big tackle in the hole or with his pursuit on the outside, both areas where he struggled last season. Now, he's only 29 years old, and he's just 2 seasons removed from being a second-team All-Pro and Pro Bowler the year he led the league in tackles. Definitely a chance that he returns to that form in Green Bay and is a viable starter for them at the linebacker position where they're most likely going to be trying to fill the hole left by Quay Walker's departure. Unfortunately, this is a what have you done for me lately league, and the Colts needed to find some cap space. Even with the Colts' shallow linebacking core, Franklin was the most obvious first choice to go in a cap-saving move, probably the first of several that the Colts are going to have to make in the coming days and weeks. This trade not only got the Colts under the cap, but it got them a guy who started 16 games last year in return and at a position where the Colts could use some depth. Defensive tackle Colby Wooden, a 6'4", 275-pound 2023 fourth-round pick out of Auburn, is a bit undersized for a defensive tackle, but he's quick and he's great at shedding blocks and filling the gaps. He's definitely a run-stuffing defensive tackle, and he won't get after the quarterback, but he has a great instinct for finding the ball carrier. Last season was his first as a full-time starter, and he recorded a career-high 50 tackles in 16 starts. Now, Wooden's going to solely serve as depth behind DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart with Ade Adebare, but that probably means the Colts will be able to move on from Neville Gallimore, who's a free agent. So even though many are sad to see Zaire go, and I kind of get it, this was a necessary move, and it's one which the Colts killed 2 birds with 1 stone. 3 if you consider getting Franklin off the team a bird. As far as where this leaves the Colts at linebacker, that position needed a major overhaul anyway. As I mentioned last week, I'd love to see the Colts go after former Chief Leo Chenal and pair him with a rookie second-round pick like Anthony Hill Jr. Bring back Jermaine Pratt on a cheap 1-year deal, and the linebacker group would be massively improved upon from what it's been since the departure of Shaq Leonard. All right, the Colts made another little move over the weekend that's sure to get lost in all of the free agency excitement, and that was signing kicker Blake Grupe to a 1-year deal worth up to $1.4 million. Now, if you remember, Grupe joined the Colts for the final 5 games of the season after starter Spencer Schrader went down with ACL and MCL tears in Week 5, and his replacement, Michael Badgley, couldn't make an extra point and was released. In those 5 games, Grupe made all 11 of his field goal attempts, including 4 from 50-plus yards, one of those being a 60-yarder in Seattle to give the Colts the lead with 47 seconds left, only for the defense to give it away in the final seconds. But that performance earned Grupe the right to compete against Schrader for the job, and also to provide insurance should Schrader not be healthy by the start of the season. Either way, the Colts seemingly have their kicker and punter locked in for the 2026 season, leaving just the return game up in the air for the special teams. Now, Anthony Gould is still on the roster, but in my mind, he was uninspiring in his return attempts. I don't love seeing Josh Downs back there, and Amir Abdullah is a free agent who's uncertain to return. Now, I'd expect the Colts to try and address the return game either through free agency or the draft. Of course, they could always go the route that I suggested and grab Rashid Shaheed and 2 defensive starters if they lose out on Alec Pierce. Just saying. Okay, there was one more big move that was made over the weekend that, while it didn't directly involve or affect the Colts, it got Colts fans talking for a specific reason. All-Pro defensive end Max Crosby was traded from the Las Vegas Raiders to the Baltimore Ravens for Baltimore's 2026 and 2027 first-round draft picks. Now, what I found most interesting about Colts fans' reactions to this trade was that most seemed to think it was evidence that the Colts gave up too much for Sauce Gardner. Now, if anything, I think it shows that the Colts paid market value to get Gardner, if not getting a good deal. Don't get me wrong, Max Crosby is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. But so is Sauce Gardner. Crosby is a 2-time second-team All-Pro. Sauce is a 2-time first-team All-Pro. Crosby's made 3 more Pro Bowls than Sauce, but he's also been in the league 3 more years. Crosby's 28, Sauce is 25. Crosby's a free agent after the 2029 season. Sauce is a free agent after the 2030 season. Yeah, the Colts added Adonai Mitchell, but he had no future in Indy, and it remains to be seen what kind of future he has in New York and the NFL in general. That part of the trade still grades as an incomplete, and we're just going to focus on the draft compensation. At the time of the trade, it was reasonable to think that the 16th pick was just about the highest pick you could conceive the Colts getting, with a pick in the mid to late 20s looking much more likely at the time. The Ravens pick was already locked in at number 14 this year when they traded for Crosby, a much more valuable pick than the expected mid to late 20s pick that the Colts figured they were trading. Now, I know that's not what the Colts ended up actually trading. It ended up being 16, but when you're looking at trade value, I don't think the Jets thought it was going to be 16 either. The Jets thought they were trading for a mid to late 20s pick. So that was Sauce's trade value, whereas Crosby's trade value was a definite 14th pick. Obviously, both of these trades are fairly fresh, with one player having yet to play for his new team and the other limited by injuries to end the 2025 season. But lining the two trades up against each other, they seem pretty even. I'm even going to give the Colts the edge, mostly due to the fact that finding a shutdown corner is more difficult than finding a defensive end who can do what Crosby does. That said, both Max and Sauce are among the best at what they do. They're game changers on defense. They can single-handedly win you a game, and that's why they're worth 2 first-rounders. Hopefully Sauce shows all of the haters this year that he was actually worth it, and I think and hope that he will. All right, that's it for today. One more quick thing, though, before I go. Happy retirement to former Colts first-round pick Ryan Kelly. Kelly was the 18th overall pick for the Colts in the 2016 draft, and he was the starter from day one. In September of 2020, the Colts signed Kelly to a 4-year, $50 million extension, making him the highest paid center in the NFL at the time. During his 9 years with the Colts, he was a 4-time Pro Bowler and was a second-team All-Pro in 2020. He finished his career with the Vikings, where he was off and on of injured reserve all last season due to suffering 3 concussions. Everyone in the Colts family, I know, wishes Ryan well in his retirement and in his next endeavor. He will always be loved as part of Colts Nation. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the Ring of Honor someday. All right. I'm expecting to have a lot more news for y'all tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see the Colts make a move or two. Could be some moves to free up some salary cap. Could be some announced signings. Let's see where it goes. In the meantime, do me a favor. Head on over to fanarch.com. Check out all their content. Like this video. Subscribe to the Colts Latest channel. And let's go Colts!